All right, what's up, everybody? We're in a park right now. That's a statue of Martin Luther King behind me. And we're going to get into chapter 12 of Genesis today, chapter 11 and 12 of Genesis today, about the story of Abram. And this is a pretty complicated story, I'll say. And today, I did not bring my earphones, so I hope that the sound quality is good, but we're just gonna go ahead and go in with the video. So Abram is one of Noah's descendants. So he's with descendant of the flood. This is years after Noah and the flood. And he is married at this point, and he's staying in a certain area, and God spoke to him one day and told him, I need you to leave this area that you are in. I'm going to send you somewhere, and I need you to just go there with your family, and I'm gonna bless you 100 times. I'm gonna make you a big important person. It's gonna be better than where you are right now. So he kind of talks to Abram for whatever reason to leave where he's at. And he ends up listening to God and going on that trip. He takes his wife and his nephew with him. I think his name is Lot. So he basically sends Abram towards Egypt. I think he makes a couple of stops along the way. But in the end, where the story begins for chapter 12, he ends up in Egypt. And there's a chapter 11 too. I know I did 10 before, but chapter 11 is one of those genealogy chapters where they're doing the lineage and the descendants and the family members of Noah. So I get right to the story. And basically this story begins in Egypt. And so God tells Abram to go down there, or he tells him to just go, and that he will get the blessings without having to do anything. But they get to Egypt, him and his wife, and apparently the Bible makes it clear that that he has a beautiful wife, that the wife is attractive or whatnot. And back then they got the pharaohs and the kings and stuff like that, so they're met with the pharaohs people and the kings people when they get out there. I always say king because we don't use that term like pharaoh and stuff like that these days. If you watch this video, he's more like a king of Egypt basically. So when they get there, he tells his wife, because he kind of figures when they see you, they could take you, they could kill me. He's trying to adjust the situation. He's trying to fix the situation for himself, and that's really not what God told him to do. God just told him to go down there, not make up anything, and then everything will be fine. But the way that Abram does it, he tells his wife to tell everybody, hey, when we get up here, you're my sister. You're not my wife. You know what I'm saying? Because if they find out you my wife, they're going to kill me, and they're going to take you and sell you into slavery or make you a whatever, back then. So he's already deviating from, and I had to read this chapter a couple times to kind of get what the book was actually trying to say. But at this point, he's deviated from God's plan. God just told him to go down there and not do this. God didn't tell him to tell people that your wife is your sister. He didn't tell him to do that, but Abram did this. And he told the Pharaoh, and everything just kind of happened the way Abram thought it would happen. They took his wife in, they showed him to the Pharaoh. I don't know what happened to King. The Bible don't make it specific about it, but the Pharaoh takes Abram's wife in with him, and instead of killing Abram, he gets a lot of blessings. He gets a lot of cattle. He gets a lot of things that he needs, for his traveling or his journey or whatever. But it's not what God asked him to do. So So at this point, God knows what's going on, and he sees that the Pharaoh has took another man's wife or whatever like that. She's been elevated, you know, to be around them and stuff like that. But God sees that and he doesn't approve of that. He sees that maybe what's going on isn't, it's a plane. It's not going according to God's plan. So he punishes the Pharaoh for this. God sends a lot of plague. He sends a lot of disease towards the Pharaoh or the king. And he makes the Pharaoh very uncomfortable and very sick, and his family as well, I think the Bible says, to the point of where he confronts Abram. He knows that something is up. That's how clear his punishment was from God. He knows that there had to been Abram's wife. So he goes to Abram and he says, why didn't you tell me this was your wife? You know, I think this is why all the plague and all the disease is happening towards me, because you never told me that this was your wife. So I don't think Abram it don't say in the Bible that Abram had a good answer to this. But what eventually happens is that the Pharaoh, the king, he tells him to take his wife. He tells him to take all the things that he gave him or whatever, and to get out of Egypt. Take you and your family and leave. So maybe his plague will lift. Maybe his blessings will come back. Maybe, you know, they won't be so plagued or with sickness and disease no more. And that's basically how chapter 12 ends in Genesis. And I had to read this a couple times because I was trying to just see what the bigger meaning of it. It was a kind of straightforward story, but it was kind of fast too. So I read it a couple times, and it was basically just Abram deviated from God's plan. God told him specifically what to do. He told him specifically what rewards will be given to him if he did exactly what God told him to do. Soon as he got a chance to deviate from that plan, Abram, out of fear, out of necessary fear, but he was not confident that God would save him from death. He thought that the king or the Pharaoh would take his wife and kill him and stuff like that. But God was asking him to have faith and that those things weren't happening because he was following God's plans. God punished the Pharaoh. He gave him disease. He gave him plague. So with that same power, he could have prevented Abram from suffering like that. But Abram, he got scared. He deviated from the plan. And he did his own thing. And I think that's the lesson from this chapter. I don't know if they're going to keep up with Abram's story in chapter 13, but we'll go, next video will be chapter 13 and we'll see what happens. But chapter 11 and 12 is just about, if God's got a plan for you, stick with it. Don't deviate from it, no matter what it looks like, because God has the power to protect you in certain situations. But that's going to be the story for chapter 11 and 12. Like I said, 11 was kind of like a genealogy thing right here. But before I get out of here, I'm gonna try to get a better view of that Martin Luther King statue for you guys. It's really sunny, so you ain't gonna really see it that good. But that's Martin Luther King. This is kind of like a civil park out here in Las Vegas. See the palm trees, and we'll see y'all in chapter 13. Peace. Yeah, I just want to come in here on the tail end of this video, and like I said, I'll be doing this, whenever I get the notion to say it or whatever like that. But we're covering these chapters of the Bible slowly and chapter by chapter. I could easily read through a lot of this really fast. But the fact that we're doing it chapter by chapter is the fact that we're trying to get as much understanding out of each chapter as possible. Because like I said, I did not grow up with this around me, as far as learning and stuff like that. That's why if you're watching this, you want to know why chapter by chapter, why is it in this form. And like I said, I just feel the need to come in and throw that in from time to time. I won't do it on every video, but this one I felt the need to. We're trying to get as much understanding as we can through each chapter, and however long it takes us to get as far as we can, that's what we're going to do here on this channel. So if you appreciate that, like, subscribe, comment, the usual.